Oh, I forgot the song. Lock the door, turn on the sign.
It's turn off the sign. It's quitting time.
Oh, right. You turn off the sign. I don't know how to...
What sign are you turning on?
I don't know how to quit time. We turn on the
okay.
quitting time
So
sign.
if you are joining us and you are on time, or you were on time and we are not.
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupt you, but I really needed you to move over like a little bit because you were hiding the star of the show, which is this motorcycle.
How do I hide myself?
You're so silly.
Do you really need me to really move? Okay.
Yeah, kinda. Is it okay? We were by the way, we had very little time to set this up.
I believe the term is skin of our teeth.
Yeah, because we were so busy today. We had a lot going on. You made it worse.
I did go the wrong way. Okay, all right.
So we were kind of barely set up. Okay, so welcome to, obviously, the song. You get it. You got the idea. Quitting time. This is the end of our day. It's Thursday, but it's sometimes because Saturday. Sometimes it's whatever day.
It's whatever day I say it is,
yeah,
and whenever I say it is.
It's up to Nicole. Speaking of what else is up to Nicole, how long the episode goes. Sometimes it's because I'm trying to give her the hook and it doesn't work. Get out of here. And then
I talk a lot. Give me a break.
Some of the times it's because anyway, the real reason, the real timer is how long it takes Nicole to finish her drink. And today's drink, Nicole, tell us what it is.
It's just Truly's. I'm still trying to get my blood sugar situation under control.
Really the best salesman.
Watermelon.
It's a Truly.
Watermelon lemonade.
It's a hard seltzer with other natural flavors and pineapple is what I have.
I liked that one because it was yellow. But I'm not sure I like pineapple all that much. I like the watermelon, which I like better, but it does have lemonade, so there's that.
Okay, so
Nothing
it's watermelon lemonade. We had a ton of. By the way, I don't know. I didn't feel like we were technically late.
I put the reminder on the YouTube channel for 7:00.
Oh yeah, so maybe you bumped it up. We think of it in our minds as 7:00. I think there was still someone here at like 6:40, 6:50. So
there was a person leaving the door at 6:58.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to really get in here at 7.
So technically, for what we were thinking of, we were a minute early.
Yeah. We were only I normally think 7:15 or 5:15 if we close, or if we're done on a Saturday. So anyway, I guess we should just schedule our times a little bit differently. But sorry about that. If you were in the chat, my point there was that there was a lot of talking. I saw when I set this computer up, it shows me the chat, and I was like, oh my god.
So I'm going to be looking at my phone a lot while I'm going back and looking at it.
That is when I'm going to lean you. You have technically your headphones on backwards. I know that the one time that made a difference to you, but I don't think it makes a difference. I just could read the L and the R. Huge difference, big giant.
It does. It makes a huge difference, especially because I don't know the technology of it, but I am deaf in one ear, so I don't know if that matters. My point. What was my point about that? We made it, but we made it in 7:15. We consider ourselves on time. You just move the goalpost, everyone. What up, nerds?
But I hugely appreciate everyone coming in, anticipating the whole episode. Maybe there's questions in there. I don't know what the conversation was. I'm going
to start it off right here because Thunder Bear, I'm here to annoy Dylan about the unavoidable fact that Royal Enfield will someday produce a 500cc thumper again. And you know what? I'm here for this argument. You're wrong, but I'm here for the argument. And I love your both the audacity and your charisma about it.
I mean, I guess someday. I don't know even if that's true. We're at a weird time in history where I don't know how many more new internal combustion engines we're gonna see. You know what I mean? Like,
he makes a good point that the Royal Enfield's bread and butter is the 350 and the 500. However, I think the 350 has replaced the 500 and the 650 is an addition to, so it's not like they're gonna bridge that gap.
I mean, if you were sitting there in 2007 and you're saying Royal Enfield will never make anything but the 500 and the 350, I mean, I agree.
You would have been correct at that moment.
They made the same motorcycle for 50 years, but I just don't. I think we're in a completely new era of Royal Enfield, and maybe I have my headphones on backwards. Can you read the things?
You do, in fact, have your headphones on backwards.
That was backwards.
That was actually pretty impressive. Okay, he also
said, you know what that means? I know that one. Everyone knows that. Simpsons friends will get the reference.
Also, a friendly reminder, Moto Guzzi is the superior air-cooled pushrod V-twin design.
I don't know why you're...
Compared to what?
Why do you show up and try to antagonize? I appreciate your viewership.
But he said V-twin design.
Okay, then yes.
Okay.
You mean compared to Harleys?
I guess. He can't be comparing them to the Royal Enfield twin because they are a parallel twin.
And they're not pushrod.
And they're not pushrod.
Is that what he said? He said
yes.
pushrod. Right?
Air-cooled pushrod V-twin design. So just let me know what you are making them superior to.
I guess Harley.
Because it's not Royal Enfield. Okay. Oh,
Nice
I do like his response of troll lol lol lol.
I know, he's doing trolling. Okay, so let's go to some actual comments, please. This is delicious. P.S. I know you're underselling Truly, but Truly, it's delicious.
Not sponsored.
Not yet.
Ken entered the chat.
Ken special. No, he was in there earlier, but
I'm
Ken
just
Falk,
mean
everybody
in the conversation.
Bow down to him. You're not worthy to be in his presence. Ken Falk, the famous Ken Falk, the very first owner and writer and technically,
I'm friends with him.
Ambassador.
I'm going to use that.
I can't believe it. He has
him.
that motorcycle behind us, the V100. That's not his because his is at home in his garage.
In his garage. So he.
I assume he has a garage.
Just got in from he does. I've seen photos of the inside of his garage.
Wow. Sexy photos? That's. I'm not going to bring it up, Ken. I'm not going to bring it up. Skip ahead.
He just got in from a ride. Not great. Aaron asked because of the weather or something else. The V100 is impressive. He said the weather. The V100 is insane. It's what got me out despite the weather. That's how you know you have a fucking good motorcycle, is when you ride even when the weather's not great.
Yeah. I just wrote earlier, heated grips. Heated grips. Am I right? They have a heated seat option. How crazy is that? Heated seat.
Moto Guzzi's going to repo it for me because I just posted a photo of it in front of an Olive Garden.
And he called it Sanya for lasagna. He's silly. Ken's very funny. Anyway.
And get some tiramisu just to put some sweetness into the spice of that post.
And go drink some Franzia.
I bet most real Italians don't even know what Olive Garden is, so you're all good. That's true. I can tell you.
Someone in Italy, there's I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I can tell you when I was growing up, my grandma, when she found out what Olive Garden was, she said, we have to go. And I was like, you're not going to like it.
On paper,
she goes, we have to go. And she hated it. She always would push her food, take her food back. But she
was Italian. Your grandma was Italian, and she was.
I'm really glad that my phone is not connected to the show your phone thing because Ken did just text me sexy photos from his garage.
Ken. Take it down a peg. He's all fired up with his new V100 energy.
I think I'm going to do a whole series of photos like that next to Fazoli's and Sbarro. I love that idea.
Funny. You're a funny guy. He's very funny. Okay, so I did see a question. Like I said, I always favor the new questions when I see them come in. But Roland said, "Does the V100 have the same engine as the others?" Absolutely not. And this engine is a marvel of engineering. If you know Kevin Cameron, so I'll just say that name, and then some people are like, I've never heard of this guy. He is the motorcycle tech guy, and he writes for Cycle World, which is now only online, and he did an article entirely on the V100. It's amazing. Just the engine, the different engineering. It's water cooled. The cylinders, if you can see it a little bit back there. Nah, you cannot see it. I could see it. Nicole, would you mind just going out of the frame entirely? I'm just joking. But if you could see no, you cannot see it. We'll pull up some photos. The V100's
see it if I get my
cylinder.
butt out of the
So
way.
it has the 90-degree V-twin, like we normally see on a Moto Guzzi, but the cylinders are rotated 90 degrees from that. So yeah, do Vanna White and show me how the exhaust comes straight out the bottom rather than going in the front. A big part of why that is, this is in the article, is because the bike is water cooled. So the exhaust doesn't get as hot, and it doesn't need to be the first thing that touches the air, that the air touches to cool it down. So there's that. It has an insane compression ratio, 12-to-1 compression. This is some real technical speak here, but that is so high performance. 115 horsepower. A huge amount of that torque and horsepower is low, which is exactly what you want as far as he says push it forward. That's actually not a bad idea. Will you do that for me? Sorry, I know you just sat down.
I've never moved this one.
Well, she's mumbling. I don't know if the mics picked that up. She said she was worried about moving it. No, you're a professional. I don't know what she says. Wow, everyone. Ooh, ah. It Go Fast is basically Ken's review, and I did a video on this, the In the Loop. If you're familiar with our channel, I'm sure you've seen In the Loop. So I just take it around our test ride route, and I did. This is rough. We don't have a demo of them yet. They were all pre-sold to customers. They said only customers with customers' names can buy these. Basically, you dealer, you can't buy it. And so all ours are pre-sold. That belongs to someone. Ken's bike was out of here. So our tech mechanic, Zach, rode Ken's, and that was it. So it had 5 or 7 miles or something. That one, same way. Zach rode this one, and then I rode another one for the video. The black, there's a black and a gray, and I rode that. How many cc's is it? It's called a V100 because it's 1,000 cc's. The other one's a V85. That's 850. V7 started out as a 700, but it was 750, but they're all 850 except for the V100, which is now 1,000 cc's. It's a little over. It's like 1,040.
Okay, 2 things I just wanted to point out that even though we were late to our own chat, Juice was like, I'm just chilling here with y'all, and that's pretty cool in my opinion.
It is
I
cool.
agree. Thank you for
so much.
hanging out with each other while we waited on us. Yes, we were busy until like right before we closed. And Aaron's heartbroken because he texted me earlier and he was like, can I test ride to those V100s yet?
You got to get a job here. That's the only way to do it at this moment. That's the only way. Or make friends with Ken. He's in the chat. Everybody. It's like a guy who, if you have a friend who won the lottery, it's like, oh, they come out of the woodwork. So,
and Aaron also said, back to the truly, the memories. Look, there are none.
The not memories.
The not memories. I don't know what to tell you.
I drank until I couldn't remember members.
2007, he was in middle school.
What's 2007?
You mentioned something about 2007 earlier.
I would never.
You did. I don't remember.
What did I say?
I don't remember.
What did I say about 2007? Now I'm already... It's a memory eraser.
A memory eraser.
What did I say about 2007?
Superior to Harley. What happens in Ken's garage stays in Ken's garage unless he texts me photo evidence of it, which I haven't opened yet, but I'm afraid to. Ken.
Does it have that warning on it? It's like somebody has sent you a photo, like you don't have to see this.
I mean, I know when I send people something that they shouldn't open in front of other people, I let them know ahead of time. That is not done in reciprocation.
I specifically meant, what's it called? Aubergine. What do they call it in American English? Eggplant.
Oh, the vegetable. I was like, why are we talking about vegetables?
If it's a photo of an eggplant, then it'll just have a little warning, like just so you know, you don't have to watch. You don't have to
watch this in front of other people,
or at all. Okay.
Flat cap cafe racer. That's a fun one.
Yeah, he's my friend from Meekum.
The V100 is very nice, but I'm not a fan of where the pipes come out.
It's unconventional. There's a lot about this bike that's unconventional. I had mentioned that earlier, but the reason that they come out on the bottom is really, actually, when you see it in person, the radiator. Somehow, other people were literally in here drooling over this bike all day. Hey, they come in, they go, you guys got the V100? And then, okay, come on back. They're all in the shop getting worked on.
Can we point out that a man drove 3 hours to come see one? Not to sit on it, not to ride it, not to pick up his V100, but to put his eyeballs on it.
And we started it for him, and that made his whole night. It was like, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe you actually started it for me. So, and I said getting worked on, but I mean the PDI process.
Getting put together.
Pre-delivery inspection. So we had to go over the whole bike. We put the battery in. The battery isn't shipped with it. And then put the mirrors on, and we hook it up to the computer. It's like an iPhone. This thing has a crazy amount of technology. And all the computers get updated. So it's like, okay, you need the new version. And they've already pushed out new versions while it was on the water shipping to us. So we do all that, and they were in the shop doing that basically all day. And people came and checked them out. And a big reason that they turn the exhaust is that way they can put the intake straight on the other side up at top. But then also the radiator is really close. But somehow you can't see the radiator. Like, they did such a good job of hiding that radiator.
I am so critical of radiators.
I know, and you can barely tell.
You can barely tell. They did a really good job with the bodywork on the sides that I can tell there's a radiator there, but I'm very critical of that. But as far as radiators go, on a not all black bike, because I feel like that's the crux of how you really hide it, is just color. Make it black.
Yeah. But they did an amazing job.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
And that engine is silver. So they're not hiding the engine, so they couldn't have just done that. Like, it would stand out still.
Ken, I think you should open just so we can see you react. I don't get that?
The photo he meant.
Oh, okay. I will do that. Hold on 1 second. And then Aaron asked if we were hiring, and then Ray said call HR. I'm sorry to break it to y'all. I am HR.
I am HR.
So
I am the law.
I can go get the bin that I put complaints in if you'd like.
Is it the trash?
It's the trash. Sorry.
Ridiculous. It's fun owning your own business. You could just
If somebody complains,
threaten whoever you want.
that chick they talk to on the phone, I'm that chick you talk to on the phone.
People will do that. People will do that. Nicole knows this, and you guys are going to appreciate this as the insiders. But yeah, every once in a while, someone will come in. And then Nicole, and they'll figure it out, or someone will say Nicole owns the place or whatever, and they'll say like, "Oh, I talked to some girl on the phone." And you're like, wow, "There's only one girl.
There's only me."
It's just,
somebody told me that I could.
Now we have Cynthia, but we have pretty different
She doesn't answer the phone yet, but yeah, I do like when people come in and they're like, "Oh, I talked to Laura on the phone. She said that I could whatever." No, she didn't.
That's made up.
That's made up.
You made that up.
So free rides at the Olive Garden. Look,
yeah,
are we supposed to take that literal, like ride the bike, or free rides at the Olive Garden?
I heard it was bottomless rides. Wait,
bottomless breadsticks?
I heard it when I said it. Always wear your gear all the time. Oh no. Yeah, you do need a shirt that says HR. That's funny. By the way, I'm just teasing it. I'm not going to ruin the joke. Nicole.
Oh, I want a shirt that says HR on it. That's awesome.
I have a thing where the way that our brains work together in a very good collaborative way, and we came up with a name. You know how they do the neon signs on the internet? You can buy a neon sign. We have a saying that we're going to put. I'm pointing at where it's going to.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be so funny. You guys are going to love it. So we'll have
people
photos
point
of
out
that.
my little homage to it all the time.
Yeah, there's a sign. If you're a real super fan of the shop, you'll notice that there's a funny phrase on the pricing board that everybody points out.
It's a knee slapper.
Very funny. Do you think my light's too strong? Because I look very white. I mean, I'm white.
You are
especially
white.
if you've seen me dance or vertical jump. but I
self-awareness has entered the chat.
I turn it down a little?
Yes.
Are you doing it?
I'll turn
You're
it
getting
down
up for me. Oh yeah, because we need to use I can't move because my whiteness is the measure. Everybody, we're having a professional photographer. Oh, that's more. Less. Maybe just turn it off. No, just a touch. Oh, that was a lot. That's what you get. Is that all? Is that it? The minimum? Well, then I say no. So white. So hopelessly white. It's better now. It's a little dark. Like
it's
I have
better now that you're less white.
I have a little circly whatever, but it's fine. Off is best. I agree.
I know where to sit to get the best light. I'm sorry that you don't have that stuff.
Down low. I don't actually know country songs, but I've heard that one in passing. Turn the lights.
Those are the
down
lyrics,
low.
but that's not how it goes.
You sing it. Okay. You sing it.
Baby, turn them lights down low.
You need to learn that rap that we found. There is a very bad.
Oh my God.
It was on the TikToks, and there's a very bad rap. And then Nicole, I sent it to her, and then she sends me later. She goes, "She's from Ohio." Like this, she's talking about.
A friend of mine. Okay, so the implication in this girl's video is that she is from
We could bring
Texas.
it up. We have the technology.
I sent it to my friend, and she was like, "This person's from Ohio." I was like, "No." I was completely 100% spoofed by this
She
person.
says, what does she say? Roll Tide, right? Which is
She does say Roll Tide, which is Alabama. So I don't know what happened there, but that girl's confused and lost.
It's called pandering, everyone. You just say a bunch of people's regional phrases and they think, "Oh, she loves us," but you're from Ohio the whole time. Okay, so help me out with catching me up on what had been spoken. What did people talk about before we got here? What were you guys talking about before we showed up?
Thunderbear, I don't know. Oh, we're caught up in that sense.
Okay.
Does the small handwritten gloves sign actually work? What do you mean by that? Does it work in that people know that the thing they can also see on the rack is gloves?
Yeah, they're gloves. They're hand shaped.
Because
they're leather.
what I like to call
He's a troll.
what I like to call our shop aesthetic is cardboard chic.
Hey, how about this question, Thunderbear? When you're sitting under the bridge and people show up and you say, "Riddle me this, and I have 3 riddles for you to solve, or you know not pass," does that work?
Turn on some music soft and slow.
Is that the rest of the line?
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron's from a rural environment, so he might know this. They might.
You don't know this?
I'm from the city.
Baby, lock
Where
them
the
doors
cars
and
are?
turn the lights down low.
Is that it?
Turn on
I feel
some
like that's how
music
I sang
soft
it.
and
When you're
slow.
saying it, it's like it's how what I
No,
said
it
in
wasn't
my
what
own,
I said. You had the lyric. You didn't have the tempo.
the melody.
Whatever. Yeah, you didn't have that.
This is not a musical episode. This is I just happened to have heard in passing the very brief amount of a country song, and I thought it was appropriate.
I'm avoiding all the country songs in my guitar learning app.
Yeah, actually, this is funny. Some country, especially the old country, is hard, and then it got
Oh, hey,
or, I
Beth.
mean, easy, and then it got hard. Oh, speaking of Beth, I saw your new rural environment. Beth lives right by my house, so it's like it's very it's not rural.
But if you're unfamiliar with Columbus in general, it is very quickly a rural environment.
Yeah, but
so people are like, "Oh,
Aaron's
you
more
live in the
rural.
city. I'm not going to ride through Columbus." Oh, you can ride in Columbus city limits and still kind of be in corn country.
I rode all day Monday, and here's what is absolutely the best way of thinking about it is when you're in the city, which we are like right downtown right now. We're right by the highway that goes straight through downtown, and you can drive from here and in 15 minutes be totally out in the country and in good riding, and you're away from traffic.
I think 15 minutes is
too much.
generous.
You don't even need that much.
No, you do not need that. I mean, there is like the difference between like country suburbs and like country farm.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you get to roads that aren't urban,
Yeah,
I'm
where they
gonna call
don't have.
it
Let's say this.
5
This is my
minutes.
definition. Where they don't actually have a mailbox, they have to get it at a local like centralized place.
Okay,
Anyway,
that's
Beth.
15
I wanted to say Beth because who knows if she'll come and go and stop. She's a very busy person. She'll stop and head out of the chat. But I watched her latest video, which was the 78 CB 400 Hawk, and it's interesting. And what I want to say is, call me. I can help you.
I like Thunderbird's follow-up. Thunderbird.
Thunderbird. You get the new name.
It's a fine car.
Let's call him a different Thunder something every time. Thunderbolt.
Thundercat. Yeah, I'm a soft troll. But the point with the gloves is that the sign, unless the sign is braille, anyone with eyes can figure out what's on the rack. Look.
That's
I
our
love
thing.
that you think that.
That's our thing. I think some people that have like very, let's say, retail-minded ideas, traditional retail-minded ideas, think that you need these extra over-polished things. Nicole is mostly in charge of our sort of retail aesthetic, and I, for one, think it's fantastic. That's our thing, is handmade. We're the it's
I
1,
actually
2, and then
physically-
my dad, and we own the whole place. And then we have 3 other people that work for us. So it is a small shop. We want the small shop feeling.
And I physically made that rack.
Handwritten. Yeah, that's true.
The
you
rack
did
is
screw
on.
it together and everything.
Yes, I actually built the thing and made the sign. Thank you
So
very much.
we are the kind of shop that I know that you may see that, and in the goofy lighting or whatever right now of this, it maybe looks kind of silly, but
It does not.
I just meant it doesn't. You can't read it all the way. It's kind of washed out in the video or whatever. But my point there is that I like these things. We like it. This is our thing. Is we have this vintage looking building. We have vintage bikes or modern classic bikes, and that's our style. If you don't like it, I don't know why you're here, I guess. But
Thunderbear is making fun of Beth for having not ridden the V7 yet. That's true.
We've extended this. If Beth's here and I have her ear, this is Biker Babe Beth. Everybody check her out on YouTube if for some reason you live under a rock and don't know who she is. But she's a friend of ours.
Oh,
And she...
interesting segue.
Well, about rocks. But what I was going to say is that we have said to her multiple times, ever since she started calling Royal Englefields or whatever she
yes.
says.
I love that video.
She's
I'm heading
great.
over to my friend's shop with the Royal Englefields, and
Yeah.
Beth, I will forever make
She's a
fun of you for
Harley
that.
person, but
You know I love
think
you.
she would love the Meteor. I think she would love the Classic. I think she'd love the
I'm trying to get her on a
Interceptor.
Himalayan.
Himalayan. You own a Himalayan.
Yeah,
so it's,
so
like, hey, come
it's
ride
okay
it.
if you drop it.
We have Biker Babe Beth. We got bikes that you can borrow for a week. We have some of those. So a Himalayan. We have a Himalayan in the shop.
We
that's
discussed,
for that purpose.
Beth, Gina, and I discussed the Media Himalayan briefly, as well as the Media GT. And that is, those are 2 bikes that we plan to loan out for content creation purposes, which is a good segue for me to introduce a very, very high up concept that you are thinking of doing, Dylan.
Lofty.
No, I didn't mean
What's
lofty.
it called? High-minded? High High concept.
High concept.
It's like, I got an idea, man. Like, you should just like do a video, man.
A video
on Funyuns.
I would love the concept of doing a video on completely like pull them out of a hat concepts that you somehow connect to motorcycles.
Yeah, like improv.
In fact, I have just now taken that idea.
That's a good idea. That's a really good one. You have my endorsement. Not that you needed it.
Interesting concepts in motorcycle content.
So we'll just put like a bunch of ideas in a hat. You pick one out, and it's like pizza and motorcycles, and you have to be like, well, let's just ride to pizza or something like that.
That's a very easy version of that. Let's hope that's my first draw out of the hat. That would be great to have an easy one. But something that's like, okay, we're pulling a totally random concept out and have to figure out how to make it a connection, whether it's a weird ass story like how Beth got her nickname Trash Man from
I'm the Trash Man.
Gina and I.
Beth shows up, it's pouring down rain. I could just tell you the story. Beth shows up, it's pouring down rain. I was here to see these girls off and say, oh, did you check your tire pressure and don't drive too dangerous, you hooligans. And Beth shows up and it starts to rain and they all put on their rain gear, and then she's like, my rain gear for my luggage is to wrap it all in trash bags. So she's going down the road with this giant like human body in a trash bag behind her.
Okay, so if you are unfamiliar with the stature of Beth, or Triple B as I call her,
I was the original.
She's small.
Triple B.
Okay. And so she's on a Sportster with this giant like backpack that definitely sits up higher on her sissy bar than her own head, covered in a trash bag. And yes, Beth, you have entered the chat. You are fair game, my friend.
Oh no. There's a video on this. Go watch it on Biker Babe
and I just
Beth's
love
YouTube
we
channel.
get to a pit stop on our way to New York 2 years ago, and I don't even know why, but for some reason, we are drenched because of course it rained the whole time, and
it was miserable. I
she just
wasn't even
goes,
there, and I know it was miserable.
She just goes, "I'm the Trash Man." And I, of course, have not seen the show, but
Always
it's
Sunny.
Always Sunny.
You've seen some episodes. Have you never seen anything?
No, I've never seen anything.
Well, it's pretty good.
Well,
People
she
like it.
explains the scenario to me that he's like a wrestler or something.
Yeah,
his
yeah.
persona is the Trash Man.
I'm gonna eat trash. It's like coming up with these ideas.
But I just remember this very specifically because we were at Gina's first trip to a Sheetz before they came to Columbus. So we're having a gourmet lunch at Sheetz for Gina's first time.
MTO, made to order.
And then we walk out of the Sheetz and Gina gets her nickname because she saw the front of a truck and the grill in front of the radiator was broken. And she was like, are those just house fans just inside? And they were just like the regular fans. And we're like, house fans? House fans.
They do kind of look like house fans.
And now you have a nickname.
Gina. House fans.
I feel like I got mine before we even left Throttle.
T-Rex?
T-Rex.
But I thought it was because you were out on the highway, on the open road.
No, it's because I had my sissy bar bag on my sissy bar, and I was like, oh, my back is gonna hurt. I'm gonna put like a smaller bag between me and my back. And they were both like, why don't you just lean back on? I have very short T-Rex arms. They both whipped their head around and looked at me and go, T-Rex arms?
You don't have short arms. I think that we can talk. This is funny, but obviously hearing you talk about it, this was the time of your life. It was trauma bonding. It was a trip of a lifetime.
No,
You came back with this like far off look in your eyes, like I gotta get back. I gotta go back. Like you probably don't know this movie.
I gotta get back and I gotta take people with me.
Someone help me. Oh, it's Hurt Locker. Hurt Locker.
Never seen it.
So Hurt Locker.
No one is surprised by that.
He's a bomb. You haven't seen anything. I know. That's what I'm telling you. He is a bomb tech in like Afghanistan or like the current war.
I know the concept of Hurt Locker, so this is based like
and
on
it's
that
high
general
stress,
concept.
right? And then he comes back to the real world, and it's just like the real world's like this slow paced, like boring thing. He's like, I gotta go back, and like he just keeps going back to Afghanistan, and it's his job is like crazy. They're like, you don't have to come back. You're done. You've done it, and he keeps going back. But that was you with Babes Right Out.
So the first week of June from the middle of Ohio through the middle of Pennsylvania to the Catskill Mountains in New York, that region is apparently forever and always going to be just a wall of rain every year.
It rains every time.
Every time. So
last time I feel like you guys left.
Oh my God, it was worse last time.
You knew it was going to rain, but it was actually fine here. It was not raining when you left because I did a video of it.
That's the same thing that happened the year before. Was that if like we tried to get out ahead of it, and all we did was run smack into it.
Might as well leave now.
Yeah, might as well. So that's the thing. And people ask, well, do you ride in the rain? If I'm casually going to go on a ride and it's raining, I'm not going to. Maybe not.
You don't
going
have to go somewhere.
But if I have to get somewhere and it's raining, or if it's raining while I'm getting somewhere, then there's no reason to try to.
What are you going to do? If I've already left, that was my rule.
If you've already left.
If I was going to go for a ride and it's raining right now, I'm like, skip it. But like, if I leave and it might rain, it's not the end of the world unless it's just like torrential.
Last year was interesting because we got to our first gas stop before it started raining, which we thought we were going to do good. But then it started pouring and it did not stop. Mm-hmm. So much so that the gas stop that we went to had a hill, and the employees' trucks were parked at the bottom of the hill, and they must have had like a drainage sewer that had gotten plugged up with, I think we saw the guy go out there, wade out to his truck that was waist high in water to unplug the sewer thing so it would drain so that everyone's car would stop being flooded. That's how much it rained. And it didn't stop until 20 minutes before our
but luckily
overnight stop.
When you got there both times, it didn't just rain the whole time when you were there, because that could make for
it has
miserable
it has
time.
never rained while we're there.
I thought you had a little bit of rain. You've had a little bit of rain, right? At Babes Right Out, it's never rained once. I thought you had some in the morning or night.
There's definitely a possibility it rained overnight, but there's never, from the moment I've woken up to going to bed. There may be like sprinkles, but there's a pretty good canopy cover.
To what you went through to get there. Okay, so Aaron asked about an alternative route. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, there's only so many ways to get that direction. It's really up.
So the alternative route is actually more treacherous. So we go through Pittsburgh, and then through Altoona area.
Delicious.
And the only other, once you get past there, you're pretty much off the freeway. You spend 2 hours trying to get to some back roads, and then you're just back. That's why it takes so long. It's not that you couldn't deadhead to New York faster.
There's no direct.
We are out in the middle of nowhere in a tiny, tiny little town. The other route would be to go north, and I believe it's 80.
Are the tickets sold out this year, by the way? We're talking about Babes Right Out.
I actually don't know that. I do know that I bought them on the first day, and they... the notice I got was, if you don't buy today, they might be... And I was pre-sale.
But they added more, right? They took over the whole campground.
Yes.
You just have to share.
Yes. So in the previous years, the campground has been shared with a family that does like a canoe trip, like a memorial canoe trip.
Mm-hmm. And we killed them all, so they're not an issue.
You know, we weren't going to bring up our...
They have been dealt
triumphant.
With. They've been dealt with. They're not. They're no longer a problem.
No, but we had, I would say, probably 75% of the campground in previous years. But this year is 100% of the campground, and there's this really big field, and the whole complete other side of.
The whole point of it. He says Western PA. Thunderbear says Western PA probably has some of the some decent places, right? And that's true. The whole point of why they go there is, you've got that kind of like tri-state
Western
area.
Pennsylvania is not remotely close. Eastern Pennsylvania is okay.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess I was getting my west and east combined.
So Western Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh side and like west of Altoona, is okay.
It's medium. Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is like hilly.
But Eastern Pennsylvania is very fun riding. It's very beautiful riding. The freeway goes along like the sides of the mountains.
They give you routes when you get there to Babes Right Out, and during the day, I know you've gone. It's the Hawk's Nest. And then there is, what's High Point?
High Point, it's the highest elevation in New Jersey. And it's actually a really good spot. The park is really beautiful. The last 2 years we've gotten in without paying, because they're just like...
Feminine Wiles.
No. So this past year was a guy. The year before was a woman. And
Have you seen Biker Babe Beth twerk? She's called Biker Butt
I have seen Triple B twerk, and honestly, it is mesmerizing.
I know, and she had those like checker pants. I mean, it's burned into my mind.
Honestly, you could go watch the video of it and see for yourself. But it is mesmerizing.
It's like an optical illusion.
Can confirm and do endorse.
What's happening there? It's just. Who knew she had the talent? I had no idea she could do that. It's
Aaron, there's no
amazing.
way to avoid the rain from the alternative route perspective. You either choose to go the north route or the south route. Mm-hmm. There's no connecting route. You're going to add 2 hours. You might as well ride through the rain at that point. So once you get past Pittsburgh, there's not any, as far as I'm aware, there's no good way to get from the route we take the southern route to get to the northern route. And this past year, I came back the northern route to avoid rain, and it was okay. But then I had to come through what was that, Akron, and come down from Cleveland. But I missed all of the Pennsylvania part of the route. So.
Sorry if I could do a little quick segue because you said so there at the end, but working on disc booty. Yes, absolutely. Everyone is very impressed for the booty. But Thunderbear asked about a serious question. Can you believe it? In the loop for the V100. Yes, I think I said this earlier, but I filmed that a few hours ago, so that'll tell you how long it takes for a video to actually become a real posted video. But I just filmed it. We also yesterday did the unboxing video, so it's the first impressions. And man, this bike's incredible. I don't want to make this whole thing the V100 episode or anything, but
while you're talking about it, I'll check the Babes Right Out.
I just got done riding this for the first time. I feel like I have to have it. Here's how you know you're serious about a bike. Nicole can tell you this. Anyone in the chat who's been serious, or Ken who just bought a V100 could be that way. When you start looking at your finances and you start to think, okay, what's my credit score? How much do I owe on the other bike that I just bought? Should I sell that other bike? Should I get this bike instead? We talk a lot about in these things. We talk a lot about with fleet building, is how we've said it in the past. This is Nicole's reaction.
I'm opening Ken's photo.
Let's just say Ken is an excellent photographer. I'm a fan.
I am a fan of the whole situation. Thank you.
Jesus. That's for her to know and you to
never find out.
It's not safe for this. So that was how serious I am. I really like the white V100. If you look online, speaking of your white,
really the white one's your favorite?
I love the white. It's called Polar White. I was gonna say wait.
It is called Polar
Bianco.
White.
It's Bianco is white. I was like, wait, that just means white.
It is Italian, so
it
sounds prettier.
White.
It sounds prettier in Italian.
So, or as they say in Italy, white. So anyway, they are. It's called Polar White, and they have red, white. Those are all red, all white. Like there's no kind of graphic-y design. This is split in half, green in the front, kind of a light gray in the back. The other one is black, or like a sparkly dark blue gray, and then darker gray than this in the back. I love those colors, and I like the black. I feel like in general I don't know. This is a tough call, guys.
I don't like the white one. I'm okay with.
Oh yeah, Aaron has an all white bike, and he says he likes all white.
Of course he does.
All white, all white, all white.
I'm just.
Well, it's Matthew McConaughey. It's Matthew McConaughey. It's what he says. It's fine to say.
Okay. I did just check the Babes Right Out tickets. They are still available for sale.
That's crazy. Saw the ladies in the chat, which is Beth. She already has her ticket for sure.
Beth says she wouldn't mind riding that sweet V100. Well, look, I have some other bikes in the hopper for you to ride first because I haven't ridden the V100 yet.
I don't know how to do it. You'd have to talk to Ken. And also, yes, you should ride something else before that. That is it's not the fastest bike I've ever ridden, but it's fast.
I agree with Thunderbear that Beth should ride the V7 before you ride the V. It's not about working up to it.
It's more approachable.
I would trust Beth to ride anything.
She can do it. I've seen her. What did she rented? Eagle Rider or whatever. What was the other one? Rider Share. I can't remember which one she used.
I know the Rider Share was the second to last time she went to Florida.
That was the big one. There was like the Road Glide or whatever. I mean, it was a giant bike.
That was his most recent time, I believe.
It was giant.
She had
no problem.
She had the Yamaha Bolt the second to last time.
Ooh, if I had a white bike, I'd scribble on it with Sharpie. That's actually kind of a cool idea. Like if you had like an artist.
That is a good idea. And there was a girl at Babes Right Out 2 years ago that was having YouTubers sign her bike, and then she was going to clear over it. I think
here's the real trick. Is that when you're picking a bike? Let's get serious. Let's get 100% serious about it. When you're
I can't get serious. My battery is at 69. So I am also HR. Don't worry.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so this motorcycle, when you're thinking about which one to buy, there's an S model and it has all the goodies. That's what Ken got, of course, and it has all the goodies. But really, the big thing that it has a fully adjustable, on-the-fly electronic suspension. The Öhlins top of the line electronic suspension, as opposed to the other one that's just dumb suspension. And
don't talk about.
You can adjust it. It didn't do well in school. It's not book smart. So.
It's street smart, okay?
It's true. It's for the street. So, Okay, she said Beth's
Street
still here.
Glide from Eagle.
I see that. So anyway, here's the thing: is I kind of feel like even if I do really like the white one as a color white, I think I kind of have to get one of the S ones, and it's because it's a. These are the things you tell yourself. It's a smart decision. It's the suspension is probably a $4,000 suspension alone. Not to mention the quick shifter and the heated grips. I'm a big heated grips guy. I love heated grips, and all the other little goodies they get. Tire pressure monitoring system, all those things. On it built into the bike, and it's only about $2,000 more. So you get all that stuff. If you were going to get it all individually, it'd be a lot more money. So if you feel like you want any of those individual upgrades, it just feels like get the better one. You never regret it.
Yeah, and I think that Thunder Bear's concept of I'm sure most people would be fine with the base model.
Probably true.
That's probably true. But if you want, something from column B and something from, you want heated grips, you want the bigger windshield, you want the whatever.
Grips.
Those things for some reason, and I guess this is it might not just be a marketing thing, but like even if you don't want the suspension, if you want the heated grips and the windshield, those are two lesser expensive things.
Oh, the windshield.
They might still.
Windshield is the same.
The windshield's the same height.
You're thinking of like the V85 or something. The windshield is the same. It's adjustable.
Here's the thing: is that these have arrived different than they looked in any of the photos.
I know.
In general, so there's no way to determine ahead of time.
Do you see? When you look at it right now, so this is the windshield is adjustable.
It's adjustable
it's
using electronic.
You push the button, and then that's actually the highest setting. So it slides up. You can kind of see the rails.
So we talked about this earlier. The windshield and the adaptive aerodynamics
yeah.
Help the wind not pummel your body.
They both have that. You can also get an optional. It mounts. It's larger, but it still uses the same system to move up and down. But you can get an optional touring windscreen that's larger.
Well, when I did the B-roll earlier, I focused on the little details on the cylinders, because I feel like those are something you can't see in the photos.
I know they have a little texture to them. There's a lot of cool little things on there. It's awesome. I'm not going to do
the little
track
horns
day.
on the attempt at a pillion seat.
I know,
which is just
a pretty big seat. It's bigger than the V85.
It is a bigger one than the V85, and definitely bigger than the Himalayan or any of the other bikes we have in the shop. But like, I'm still not grabbing on to the tiniest of tinies.
Okay, so Ken said something about the quick shifter. It has a quick shifter, which you wouldn't think you would need. Here's the thing that I really thought was stupid on paper, and it's the whole fact that I demonstrate this in the upcoming In the Loop video. But you cannot, if you're stopped, if you come up to a light, your only option is first is down, up is neutral. You cannot shift into second. You cannot miss neutral. So that sounds, when I describe it to you now, you're probably thinking, I don't need that. I've been riding motorcycles for X amount of years. I've ridden plenty of motorcycles. I don't need this can't shift into second crap. I can find neutral no problem after the first couple of tries. Man, does it make it easy. It's just something, I don't know if Ken has experienced this yet, but the fact that you just pull up to a light, go all the way down to the first, and then when you come to a stop or close to a stop, just go up, and you know for a fact you're just going to positively shift into neutral. And it's nice. It's huge. Zach and I were just talking about, we were essentially the only people that have ridden them, and it's something that I thought was stupid in sort of concept, but in reality, man, does it make a difference. It's kind of cool.
The only time I've ever quick shifted on something was accidentally on my Sportster. One time.
Quick shifting. You could do that. Actually, this is kind of funny about quick shifting is that if you get the RPMs right and every bike's sort of different, you can, I know that Artie Sockinger, we were talking about that too on the Himalayan, you can shift without a clutch on a lot of motorcycles. But this is meant to. It has an electronic kind of cutout temporarily.
Well, Ken's saying that I use the quick shifter, I feel like I'm getting away with something dirty.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing, but and that's what got me off on the tangent about the first and second or first and neutral thing. But what was really nice is I only did the test drive, so it's only 5 or 6 miles. Coming into this turn here, and you'd know this, Nicole, but over here on Harmon, it's deceptively tight.
It is a I don't know what to call it, but the turn closes in on itself.
I think that's called an increasing radius or a decreasing
radius. Yeah, it's not a smooth curve like you think it is. It's coming back on itself.
This sweeping thing, and then it kind of like, oh, this is a tighter turn.
So you have to take. So I've had people say, I didn't know why you were slowing down at that curve, which I don't normally do for myself, but for people on a test ride, I absolutely slow them down because they're not ready for it.
For a test ride, on a test ride, I hit the brakes a bunch, so you think, oh, he's slowing down, I should slow down. So I want you to slow down. If I'm by myself, myself, I do not slow down. I downshift. And so what I did on this one was, on the V100, is clutchless downshift. Just, now I'm in third. That's perfect for this, taking this. And there was, you know what I read? I don't know. This is funny because this has just become a conversation between Ken and I, as the only person who knows how the V100s really are. But I read that there was a pronounced decrease in engine braking. I found that to be completely the opposite. I thought there was way more engine braking. Now, it does have a slipper clutch. So you can do the thing that you could not do on any other Moto Guzzi. If you do this... I
was about to interrupt you because I was going to say, as does the Royal Enfield Twin.
Royal Enfields have it. And my main bike, a lot of you guys know, my main bike is a Interceptor. And when you ride the Interceptor, you just come into a turn and you just think, second gear, I'll just slam it in second, let the clutch out. Don't let it out slow, just kind of go. And it'll drop in a second, but it does this thing where the clutch plates, when it feels that backwards pressure, that engine braking, they expand and let off the pressure, and then slowly, automatically, passively, you don't have to do anything, it's not electronic, it's just how it's machined, they go back to being normal clutch. And the funny thing about that is it's all seamless, but it makes you lazy. So you do that on a V85, and that rear end will just lock up, and it sounds scary, and it's just the kind of thing that if you just like are sloppy, because I'm telling you, I've learned to be sloppy with the Interceptor. If you do that on a regular, any of the other Moto Guzzis,
and that's why I'm
scary.
interested to hear your take on Aaron's comment that his Rebel has a slipper clutch,
does it,
but he doesn't use it. You can't not use it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. So this is how a slipper clutch works, and I don't have one here to demonstrate, but you could look this up. Fortnite actually has kind of part of a video that's on the GT that talks about it, but basically it's two clutches in one, and the last two plates are attached to the outer basket, and the outer basket, when it feels this force outwards, so the what's it called? The engine braking, when you feel that backwards kind of feedback from the engine, that sort of secondary clutch, the outer basket, and this, I'm making my fingers like this because that's actually how it looks when you see it, that they're the last plate or two is offset. They pull forward and let off the pressure, so they're no longer squeezing to make that proper hard connection. And so when it squeezes out, it's essentially letting the whole system slip. That's the idea behind the slipper clutch. So if you just give it way too much engine braking, it just takes care of it for you. It slips and then seamlessly, progressively goes back into full engagement.
So the Honda Rebel does have a slipper clutch, but I'm confused about your comment that you don't use it. Do you just not let...
Ken says the engine braking is configurable. That's crazy. Maybe I was in sport when I did that or something. That's amazing. I don't even know how that would work. That's crazy. That's very cool.
Aaron, I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, so your bike does have it, but maybe
he just doesn't quite. Here's how you tell.
Do you just
if you
shift
really do
too
have it.
soon?
Yeah, go into a turn and you think this turn could be sort of between third or second. Like I could probably take this turn.
Just get
third.
there before the bike wants you to.
Especially on the yeah, that's right. On the test ride route, is we have these 90-degree turns. Just go in a second, and kind of when you're not really slow enough, like travel speed wise, to be in second gear, like you're going, let's say 30 or 40 miles an hour, let the clutch out. You can go let it out slowly. If it just handles it, fine. If you don't have a slipper clutch, that rear wheel will receive too much engine braking. The engine will rev up and it will kind of lock up. If you have ABS, you can feel it on the brake pedal that the ABS will kick back because it's chattering. It chatters the rear end. It's forcing that feedback into the rear.
I always get and I don't on my later videos, but early on in my YouTubing, got a lot of comments about my lack of engine braking and the fact that I actually use the brakes that my motorcycle comes equipped with.
Yeah, do you mean
coming up to like
a stop?
Come to a stop, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into it, but yeah, people get crazy with their different ideas of shifting.
Oh no. Okay, Aaron. So the slipper clutch has nothing to do with
what he's talking about.
Upshifting.
That's a quick shifter.
So a quick shifter is where you don't have to pull in your clutch to be able to shift. You can just shift through the gears because it knows what it's doing already.
Which the V100 has.
The slipper clutch just kind of gets you from gear to gear, even if you're not quite there yet.
It's only on engine braking. It's essentially there's a slipper clutch.
So you don't lug
slipper clutch
as much.
Only works on engine braking. It's actually sort of the opposite. Lugging is when you shift too soon. So you're in fourth gear, but you're only going like 20 miles an hour, and you just give it the throttle, goes and like really digs.
What
out
was
the
that?
hole.
So that's what I mean. Like if this were true, to not be this using the slipper clutch is that he's shifting before he needs to.
Downshifting. It really only works on downshifting. It's a downshifting. The slipper clutch. The other one.
Wait, so you're saying that your Rebel has a quick shifter?
I wonder if that's true. Well, anyway, I don't know enough.
But you don't use
Rebel.
it.
We can figure that out.
Well, I have Google. I have the whole world in my hand.
He says I learned something. I hope I tend to sometimes on this stuff. I'm fascinated by this stuff. You know, this whole first and neutral and can't shift in a second. That stuff that's just fascinating. It's the technology. You know, I love the engineering. I love the motorcycles are so fascinating because they've been around over 100 years now. Over 120 years now, and all these different approaches. You know, we have single cylinders, we have 4 cylinders, we have 6 cylinders, we have inline 6 cylinders, and it's just crazy to think about all the different engine configurations, and they're all just trying to solve the same problem. They're essentially taking a bicycle and adding an engine to it, and all these different approaches to that. And where we've come in 120 years is just, I find it fascinating. So even if it's not your cup of tea on some of these things with the quick shifter is more of a sport-like thing or whatever, it's still pretty cool. It's still pretty interesting. You know, there's a lot of passive technology, meaning it's not an electronic device. It's not a computer that does it. It is the machining of the clutch or the way the transmission works or whatever. I love that stuff. That's what I'm into. In some ways, I like talking and working on the motorcycles more than riding them, but I do like riding them. In some ways, you're not that way at all. I know that.
No, I am not that way.
Well,
how far can I go before I need to work on it? Is my question.
That's sort of surface interval kind of thing, yeah.
Someone was asking. I was wondering. Sorry, there's a little bit of me not being able to read. I was wondering if I change the interceptor clutch for a big bore, would it take away the slipper?
I don't know. I don't know the answer for what clutches people typically put in. Maybe they just put in different plates. That's a Hitchcock's thing. I know Hitchcock's has the upgraded clutch. That is part of the reason why I do not like the idea of doing a big bore kit. People constantly ask us about the big bore kit. I think the biggest you can go from 650 to 865, and then there's an intermediate somewhere in there is a 700 something.
But I feel like we looked into this pretty extensively at the beginning. Is that it's not bolt-on like it is.
There are a lot of knock-on effects
with other brands.
So you need bigger injectors. Hitchcock says you absolutely need a different clutch. The stock clutch can't handle it. It slips, but in a bad way, in a non-intended way. And then you need another fuel management system, which I don't like that idea. I don't like adding on a piggyback aftermarket computer to try to handle this. I don't like that idea. There's probably some other things I'm not even thinking about. What spark plugs do you run? There was a lot of time and effort and technology and engineering that went into designing that engine. My personal Interceptor has a 2-in-1 exhaust, a K&N air filter, because it helps it breathe better.
Do you have the booster plug?
I do have the booster plug. That was the other thing I was going to say. I was working my way up there. But basically, the reason that I justify, after all I just said about that, what about the engineering of the product? They make a motorcycle, they design an engine, and then they think about how it's going to meet emissions. And the trickiest way to meet emissions is just restrict the air in and out. Less air means less fuel with it and less unburnt fuel and therefore less emissions. And so I don't care about emissions. And so on my personal motorcycle, so I would rather have smooth air in, all the air that I can possibly get away with, as long as I can add the fuel, hence the booster plug. So I add a little bit more fuel, the right amount, and get more air in, more air out. And I think that's as far as I want to go on the performance.
Well, because you have to precision machine the cylinders to bore it out.
Yeah, you machine them out, and then you put the sleeves, you press the sleeves in. There is a service now that Hitchcock's offers where you can send away and send your cylinders, and they'll send you ones that they've already done that to. It's not something I want to mess with. It sounds like there's just so many. Give me my cylinders.
Those cylinders are personal.
Those are mine. There's so many knock-on effects that we haven't thought about. I mean,
which explaining to someone when they come into the shop where they're like, I want to put exhaust on. It's like, okay,
exhaust, sure.
Okay, that's fine. I want to take the baffles out. Okay, well, you're starting to get straight pipe territory.
Yeah,
too much. They're like, well, then I also want, or they only want the booster plug.
Yeah, you don't want that.
It's a
You don't just get the more fuel is not always a good thing.
It's like when you have to like prove your eligibility for employment. This was my best example for people, is that they give you you have to have this, and then you can have this or this. You have to have the exhaust, and then having the booster plug or the high flow air filter in combination with the exhaust gets you there.
Yeah, I'm all for sort of getting the most out of a motorcycle. Or like, there's guys on there that, there are people that take a Honda CRX, if you know what that is. It's sort of this small 2-seater economy Honda, and they drag race it. They make it go as fast as possible. I admire that in some way, but these guys are engineers, whether they have engineer training or not. And I feel like if you're taking a 650 and you're just thinking, I'm just gonna big bore it, I'm just gonna add all this stuff, I don't think, like, unless you really know what you're doing, unless you're racing, or I'm part of a race engineering development team and you want to do that for the sake of
if you actually know
problem.
What the octane in gas means, then you can
then you get serious about it and you
that.
do it. I don't want to talk you out of it. And Johnny Lewis, who races for Royal Enfield, they have some kind of they do a different. They do a lot of different stuff, different clutch, different cylinders and stuff like that. And, I get it. They have a race team that supports it. When you're talking about taking a bike on the road, I think it's so much more valuable to have a bike that works. And we know the answer to all these questions. What octane fuel to use, what spark plugs to use, how often to change the oil, what oil to use. Those questions have all been answered. I think you're better off running that reliably. Take that motorcycle for 50,000 miles. I think you'd have a hard time just doing a big bore kit, figuring out all the other changes, and then taking that one for 50,000 miles. I just think the reliability has not been proven.
Yeah, and I feel like the average person who buys any motorcycle, like you were saying, with people who are going on the track, like, you actually know what this upgrade's going to do for the bike. But the average person buying a motorcycle just to even ride on the freeway, you're not using everything that the 650 has anyway.
It just seems like the wrong bike to try to push the limits. I don't know if you discovered this. I've come to this conclusion. The Interceptor makes 47 horsepower. They've made they've come up with, it's been out for 4 or 5 years now. They've never changed the horsepower. Here's the secret of the reason why. In Europe, they have different license, A1 license, A2 license. When you're a beginner, you have to get a certain license, and you're only allowed a motorcycle with a certain amount of horsepower. That number is 47. So
did that used to be based off of the CCs alone?
I don't know if that's true.
Or is that just Japan?
But so here's how I know that. Oh, yeah, Japan was different. In the
so
70s,
theirs was only based
70s.
off of CCs, not on horsepower.
In the 70s, you couldn't buy a 900cc motorcycle in Japan, despite the fact that they made them.
And exported them.
Nobody there could ride it. It was illegal. So, but anyway, the reason I know that is because on the Moto Guzzi's, I have no idea if the V100 is like this. That would be really funny. But on the V85s and the V7s, they have a restricted power mode. Mm-hmm. So I, as the dealer, this doesn't make any sense in America, but in the dealer in Europe, let's say I'm the dealer in Europe, I can put, if you're a learner and you only have your whatever learner license, I can go in there and I can give you the restricted power mode, the learner mode, and it's 35 kilowatts, which translates to 47 horsepower. The 35 kilowatt mode, and the reason I know this is because in the training they warned us. They said if somebody comes in, they said suddenly my motorcycle seems like it has half the power or whatever, make sure it's not. they didn't accidentally put it in this learner mode, because it's the same bike. It's a 850 cc's, and those bikes normally have around 65, 68 horsepower, and if it suddenly has 47 horsepower,
and I feel like you would
notice.
feel that.
Yeah.
You would definitely notice that.
So that's the reason that the Interceptor has 47 horsepower. They did it very intentionally. They wanted to make a motorcycle that is a global market motorcycle. This in India, that 650 is beyond what they ever care about.
So Ray said that England used to be based off CCs.
Okay, so maybe it's a kilowatts thing now, because they're all over the place with the
I just
CCs.
know that the graduated licenses used to be based off CCs. I feel like they were like, you can only have 50,
250 or whatever for.
Well, and people
learner.
here get really confused when they're like, "There's no limit on."
You
can get your
honestly,
learner's permit and
totally
ride whatever
insane,
you want.
and you should not be able to do that. I'm not. We're not going to get into politics or whatever, but I'm not a government should tell you what to do thing. But you should not be able to get your license and that same day or a week later. I've never ridden a motorcycle other than the class. You should not be able to walk. You should not be able to buy the V100.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In fact, I can sell you a V100 with no license at all.
That's true. But you and I have luckily, or all of us here at Throttle Company, we have not had too many situations where I had to be like, I don't want to sell this guy a motorcycle or whatever.
Yes, but Tony and I have dealt with the majority of these situations where someone comes in, we're just like, I hope you're not serious about buying a motorcycle, because the one time I want to not sell someone a motorcycle, they're the most enthusiastic.
But if somebody comes in and they said, I just got my license, I'm in love with the V100 and I have the money and I want to buy it, I don't know, man. That does not seem safe. That motorcycle is too much. And I think we all, I don't know, I don't think this is too controversial to say. I mean, a lot of, there are just motorcycles out there, especially this isn't even the sportiest thing there is. There's some very, very fast motorcycles. Brandon has one of those. He has a turbo Kawasaki, and they make these 200 horsepower
I always and
motorcycles.
will always lose track of how many motorcycles.
Brandon has. I said today he has 14. I think it's 14. It might be 12.
When I tell people that
There's
I
a lot of
own
motorcycles.
3 motorcycles, they're like, what?
Yeah.
And then when I say, I know friends who have tens of motorcycles.
Right. My dad, I don't think he could tell you the number. So Thunder Bear said, I don't know if he's trolling, but he says I should put Shell V-Power Nitro 93 in my motorcycle. You have a V7 8 or 750. There is no reason. The manual says 91. It actually says 90.5.
He says he has an H2 supercharged.
Oh, does he? Well, there you go. Then he should. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Just messing around?
I mean, if you actually have that, then
maybe he
that's
has different motorcycles.
Are you talking about the H2 that you put that gas in, the nitro?
The H2. Maybe
otherwise...
the H2 is supercharged. I couldn't remember. I thought it was. You're right. Maybe supercharged. But anyway, I'm not a
I wasn't sure what motorcycle he was referring to.
But if you're putting 93 octane, you're wasting your money. If you're putting 93 octane in a a 750 Moto Guzzi, you're wasting your money.
Yeah, I think I put.
You don't put 93.
No.
What motorcycle?
In the lowrider.
What do you?
Premium.
The lowrider. Premium is typically 91.
I was gonna say I do 91 in that, and then I do like 87 in the Himalayan.
He specifically said V-Power, so some of these brands, some of these gas stations will have like the fancier one, the race, whatever. But typically our pumps are 87, 89, and 91. Or sometimes the last one's 93. You might need 91. I think we figured it out.
I think it's 91. Yeah. I tested that on 1,000 mile.
It's complicated, but basically it's compression ratio is what it comes down to. There's different things that they could be doing with timing or whatever, but a non-performance motorcycle that's somewhere between 9 and maybe all the way up to 10 doesn't need anything. They can use 87 octane. If you have a Royal Enfield and you put anything but 87 in, you're wasting your money.
I feel like I've even tested that where I when I took the Interceptor up to the farmer's market with Sam and Megan. I think I started the tank with too much, like too high octane, and it was just weird. I don't know if that was just me or
too
what.
high shouldn't matter. Other than octane, I don't want to get too technical, but octane is literally a measure of fuel's resistance to ignition. And so, what you're essentially why that matters is because you don't want pre-ignition in a extremely high. That's bad for everyone, but in a high compression scenario where the cylinder the piston is compressing the air, that's the ratio is literally it, and anything over sort of 9.5 starts to get into the high compression. 12 on the V100 is very high for a street bike. That's a very high amount of octane or amount of compression. So the reason you want higher octane is because at high pressure, fuel and air without spark can, in a hot engine, can just spontaneously combust. So you need
in a spot where it's not supposed to.
Yeah, too early, right? Pre-ignition. Yeah. So you want higher octane to resist that. But in the vast majority of applications, this is my rule. I'm not the world's biggest expert on this, but at 9.5 is where I would even, that's the line where below that 9.5 compression, I wouldn't ever even consider anything but the lowest octane you can get. Above 9.5, when you start to get to 10, I think the lowrider is something like 10 to 1, 10.5 to 1, I mean. When you start to get over 10 is when you do have to consider what does the book say. Now, the problem is, internationally, they use the system called RON. And 95 RON equals, I think it equals 90, 90.5 or something. It doesn't translate exactly.
So essentially 87.
So that's the problem. No, it's 90.5. So that's the problem, is you can't find 90.5 octane. So what's the nearest one? It's 91. Thunder Bear had said this in there somewhere too, is that if you can't find 91, you're right. 93 is the right thing, because you can go up, sure, safely, but going down. And really what it comes down to is, in an extremely hot scenario, under extremely, and you had this happen. Pinging is what it's called, but sometimes it's called knocking. If you are lugging the engine, meaning you're giving a lot of gas at low RPMs in the wrong, sort of in too high of a gear, and it's really hot, and your engine is really hot, when all that scenario starts to happen, or you're climbing a hill, you could get pre-ignition, you could get pinging. It's a thing that most people would never notice, but if that scenario does happen,
most people would never notice it. However,
yeah,
I will.
You notice everything. You're a worrier. But if you start to have that happen, then it is the time to consider a higher octane. But until that happens, it's just mostly a waste of money. And I hate that in America especially, it's just marketing. Premium. There's nothing more premium about it. It has a higher octane. Sometimes they add detergents and stuff like that, but most of the time it's not better. The end. Did you have more questions to ask?
I have more things to say, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Beth was just mentioning that she currently has 6 bikes, if you count the mini bike.
She just got one.
Beth,
I didn't know she had a mini bike.
Yes.
Is it a Coleman? You get the money from that?
It's like a Coleman, and no, I don't get any residual from that. Can a beginner start on the V7? So I have really strong opinions about this. You can, and if you really love the V7, great. But if you are not confident, or your legs aren't very long, I would have concerns about the oppositional revving. Like if you're not ready for it when you are stationary and you rev it, or if you aren't prepared for
the fact that the engine twists.
That the engine does physically move the bike
you know?
side to side.
Did we talk about this?
That it goes the opposite way.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I haven't ridden it yet, so I don't know.
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice the engine rocking as much when I rode it, so I did hear that the V100...
Does it have a counterbalancer?
Yeah, definitely. It actually has like weights that literally run the opposite direction, which I guess is how counterbalance works. But it is it is definitely less than
noticeable.
Yeah, less noticeable.
So there was the first time I ever rode a Moto Guzzi. We were at an intersection, and Dylan reaches over and revs it, and the whole thing is going back and forth.
On what?
The first time we ever rode Moto Guzzis.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't confident in holding the bike up, I'm not sure I would have been.
Oh, you think it'd be that surprising or whatever?
That and the shaft drive, I feel like I know I say this every time. The chain drive or belt drive motorcycles that people are used to riding aren't less reactive, but somehow a shaft drive just feels faster.
I can't explain that.
It's not possible to be 110%, but it's 110% somehow.
It's one of those things where it's like frame rate or something, where you're just like, the human eye cannot detect, but I don't know, it feels different somehow.
It just feels. So can a beginner start on the V7? Yes. I feel like the weight can be a little bit of a deterrent, but I would say that about the Interceptor and the GT as well.
Beth can handle that. I've seen she handle a little more. So I wanted to kind of wrap up my, I feel like I did wrap up, but then people ask questions about the octane thing. E85, I hope you're joking. That's not something you should use. E85 is mostly ethanol. Just do not put that in any car that doesn't say it's for that, but also do not put that in your motorcycle. Compression ratio under 10 should use 87/89, and then above 10, 91 plus. That is a general rule. I think that that if you compare that cross-reference to owner's manuals, which these are the engineers and the lawyers that decided those things. So I think that's, if you cross-reference that amongst most manuals, or even between cars as well, I think you'll find that to be a pretty good rule of thumb. And then someone says, I refer to the owner's manual. I absolutely would refer to the owner's manual, especially while it's under warranty. I know
the problem with that.
What? Go ahead.
Is that it's in RON, and I feel like we've run into that.
Yeah. So speaking of, someone said 91 RON or higher. So 91 RON or higher, I know for a fact is 87. I think it might even translate to 86 or something lower than that. So 91 RON in the Interceptor manual or the 650 manual, it's 87. and just in case anyone's worried, I have an Interceptor. I only put 87 in. There's never an issue. I never have knocking, pinging, any problems with it at all. But I am following the manual, and I'm serious. And I'm not just saying this as the dealer. And when do what I say, not as I do. And we did this for your Lowrider S. Any vehicle that's new and under under warranty, just do what the manual says.
Follow the rules until it's out of warranty, and then do whatever you want.
Motorcycles, how much does it cost you to fill up? $9 to $15, and so there's just no reason to not spend a couple dollars more if the manual says it for sure. And then you're going to have some $10,000 engine to replace or something.
At what point in the future will it be possible to test ride the V100?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the answer.
April?
April. April's a long month. I think it has at least 29 days in it. And
I believe it has 30.
So somewhere in April.
I haven't checked yet, though.
We sure hope. I feel like we were just looking at this today, and I don't think we've been charged for it yet, but it's been it's on the list. And when I say charged for it, I don't want to get too far into.
It's only relevant because that's how we determine how long it'll take.
When Moto Guzzi sends us the bill for a motorcycle, that means they shipped it from Texas, which is where the warehouse is, and so that usually takes 10 days.
10 days.
So. You can tell it's right because we both said it at the same time. But that's how it usually works. So it hasn't happened yet that they've charged us. But before that, our guy from Moto Guzzi says, here's what's coming. And so it is on that list, but it's not on the charged for list. So it's more than 10 days away from now. It's only March 9th. So I think next month is when they gave us our version, our test ride. And Nicole's going to ride it. We're gonna ride it. We're gonna take photos of it. We're gonna do everything we do with all our demo bikes, and then
there will
rides.
Be fanfare.
There will be test rides. Some guy asked in earlier. I'm telling you, I said this earlier, but we had a stream of people nonstop coming in and just drooling over the V100s, looking at every little thing. And I got tired of saying my little spiel. Oh, did you see this? Oh, did you see this? And it's just like I said this to the last 10 people. Like, it's incredible looking. And one guy said you should have people over for beer and pizza. And I said I don't want to do it now because this
belongs to somebody else.
Yeah, this is someone else, and they could go home tomorrow. But as soon as we get our demo and our test ride, I don't want to do beer and test rides, but we'll do some event, official kind of launch, and we'll just take it around test rides all day, and essentially I would love to
get it at least halfway to its first service.
Yeah, which is 900 miles.
Week, yeah.
And I don't care. I know that maybe I hope you guys don't feel sheepish about this, but Coffee Guy Rides, I see you in there. Hey, how's it going? I don't care if you're even interested in buying it or not. You know, he might be, because I know when the Greaso was here, he loved it. But Aaron or anyone else, Roland that was in here, I don't. It's not. I don't feel bad. I want all you guys to ride it, and here's why. If you want, I'm not this kind of guy with I'll get something out of it. I'm not that kind of guy anyway in general, but. If you only believe me if I say something like that, the reason is if I want to be as self-serving as possible, the more Aaron's or Roland's or Coffee Guy Rides or whoever, Flat Cap Cafe Racer who's out in Idaho, if you have ridden this bike and you tell your friends, or you aspire to have it one day, or you say, oh, it's not for me, I'm not that sporty of a guy, I want more of an adventure bike, but man, was that a cool bike, or the quick shifter was cool, or I heard it had heated grips, or whatever you say, just the more people
I just
talking
like to
about
say adaptive aerodynamics.
Yeah, and the Moto Guzzis especially. Royal Enfields are really gaining a lot of traction in America, but most people walk in the door of our dealership that has a giant sign on the side that says Royal Enfield, and they go, what's a Royal Enfield? Most people, unless we knew them already, you know, oh, what's a Royal Enfield? So I just need people to know about these motorcycles. That happens to be our weird challenge. You know, we're not a Harley dealership. They have their own problems, but at least everyone who walks in the door has heard of Harley Davidson. That's the weirdest thing about our dealership, is that we have a line of motorcycles out front. We have the names of the places on the front, on the side, and it says motorcycles 50 feet long. But still, people walk in and they say, I've never heard of Moto Guzzi. I've never seen a Moto Guzzi. And
y'all sell motorcycles here?
Yeah. So
are these all vintage?
If you guys ride a bike that we have, take a test ride, it takes me 15 minutes, and we go ride, and we get out. Especially if the weather's
we
nice.
don't have to go ride. We get to go ride. I will say that.
Especially if we're friends, then I can go a little faster, and we can have a little bit of fun riding with your friends. That's what we do, and so I'm not mad about that. And then if the byproduct is for us is that you now there's one more person who's ridden a Moto Guzzi, who's actually sat on a Moto Guzzi or a Royal Enfield or whatever, and they've ridden it. Then I that's a win for me. I don't mind. Unless you call it Royal Enfield.
So I feel very strongly about when I take people on test rides that I take them professionally. Unless you're my friend.
Yeah,
you still have to do the test ride form, but I will never forget the day I took Carrie and Palmer on a test ride. We got back and Palmer's like, I didn't know you went hard. Yeah. And I was like, look, let's go again.
Here's also a funny thing about it is someone said that to me too, because we did a GT and a Himalayan, totally different motorcycles, style and riding wise. And when I switched, so I had the GT first, and then I switched to the Himalayan. I was going slow. This guy was kind of a newer rider, and he was like, "Man,
and these turns are angle.
They're 90
turns.
degrees. You come up, and I tell people that too. The first turn, it doesn't look like that's a big deal, but it's no joke. It's 15 miles an hour on the sign. It's slow.
It's slow, and I usually take that with test riders at about 25.
I try to let the people behind me know I'm really slowing down for this turn. So you do, and you don't just go flying off. And so, but if we've gone around a couple of times or whatever, like I'll without thinking about it, I'll just subconsciously, because I swear at this point I've probably ridden that road 200 times.
I base my decision, because there's 4 right after each other. After the first one, if they're right on my ass or they're taking the turn well, because I watch you through the whole thing, I will progressively get faster through each one of the turns as well.
Yeah. I want to get some distance too, because if you take a test ride, think about if you were riding a car and the car in front of you, you're just on their ass and they're just going, under the speed limit. How annoying is that test ride? So I don't want to do that as your guy leading the motorcycle group. Is I don't want you to think, well, I couldn't get around the guy in front of me, so I'll get out ahead of you, and then don't try to race me to catch up, but just use that space to enjoy the motorcycle.
Speaking of test rides, Aaron said that me personally, better tell him as soon as he can ride the V100. If you don't think that I will be making a huge ass deal about it, you'd be wrong.
That's one of the benefits of being
You're
friends.
taking off work that day or something. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But somebody said, or Thunder Bear said, thankfully for Dylan and the rest of us, a test ride is mandatory for the PDI. That is true. If you have a bike that you have purchased from a dealership that has 1 mile on it,
that's a good one. This is a good controversial thing to bring up.
You didn't get a bike that was tested.
You know what I think? I think for the benefit of the doubt, when people say this, so this happens a lot, and I've complained to you about it, but on the Royal Enfield group, people will be like, I just bought my GT. It had 0.1 miles on it. That's bad. That's real bad. That means no one rode it. And first of all, here's what's weird about that, is this is what I'm trying to give the guy a benefit of the doubt. I think it's a new bike to him, and he didn't realize that he was on trip A or something. How many miles you've gone on the second level. Because when the motorcycles come to us, it is extremely rare that they don't have 1 to 2 miles on them, and the tires are brand new and clean.
It almost defaults to 1. You don't have 0.5 miles to start with.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I know the Himalayan dashes, the old ones used to do that. They just start at 1. You don't get to start at 0.
So if you have
0 miles, then I don't know what you did.
Really wrong.
You did some hacking. But so when the motorcycles come here, like I said, the tires are clean. So I think they, and I've actually seen video footage of the assembly plant in Argentina for the Himalayans, and the last step of the assembly line is a dyno, and then there's a guy there who just gives it full throttle, goes through the gears, and they make sure everything works. And they make sure everything works. So you could test the engines, right? Sure, but we need to make sure the whole drive chain works. Everything is functional, but the tires aren't getting dirty in that test, because when they show up, they're totally clean. And then we take them for 5 miles. So then when we sell a bike, it has 7 to 12 miles.
I default to 7. Sometimes it needs to go around again. There have been quite a few times that I've come back from a test ride, like the initial test ride, to be like, something is weird. You need to look at it again. So it might have 10. So, but it needs to do a second.
But you want
go
that
around.
if you buy a motorcycle from anyone, and there's less than 1 mile on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a problem. No one tested this. No one set it up. How do you know that they checked the brakes? How do you know that they checked the cables were attached properly? Those are all the things that we're checking when we're doing a test ride. It's funny because I did the test ride earlier and I brought the video camera along. It was a lot of mental process for me to make sure that I went through and did it all. I'm checking the heated grips on this bike. I'm checking the heated grips. I'm checking the cruise controls working. I'm checking the headlights, that they go through the different modes, that we have brights, that we have high beams. We have had this happen where one of the pins in the connector was slightly off and the high beams didn't work. I don't want to send you home. This is in my opinion what just separates a good dealer from a bad dealer, is this check, this setup. I don't want to send you home and have you call me and something I noticed. Oh, the high beams don't work. Oh, I didn't check that. What else did they not check? Did they not check the brakes? Did they not? Were my tires not?
I feel
inflated?
like my litmus for this is the clock set.
Yeah, which we do. And
if
we
you
try
didn't
to do all
set
of
the
it, yeah.
clock, what other things on the checklist
What
didn't
else
you
did
do?
you not pay attention? There were a lot of questions in there. I have to set something straight. Beth asked what bike they used for the Build Train
Why are
race
you
program.
skipping ahead?
Well, only because I wanted to make sure people were not wrong about this.
Okay.
For Build Train Race, there are 2 programs. There's road and there's the
Flat track.
For flat track, it's an Interceptor, 650. They're both the same bike, essentially, 650. And for the road, it's a GT. The only difference is riding position, the engine, transmission, the rest of the drivetrain is the same. Somebody said Himalayan. The Himalayan is only used for the class. They do a class called Slide School, and they use a Himalayan for that. Actually, now it's a Scram.
Yeah. So I think that there was a lot of social media about the slide school that looked a lot like the flat track.
Yep.
So that would be confusing, but they are not the same thing.
Which is essentially a flat track. It's a smaller track, but it's not racing. It's learning.
Yeah.
You go there and you could do your gear. I think RD maybe even did it. So if he's still in the chat, I think he did it. I might be wrong about that, but basically, it's like a couple $100. You gotta bring all your gear. It's on you to bring. You have to have proper safety gear that'll pass their inspection, and then you go out. I think it's 2 days. And Johnny Lewis, this professional flat track racer and a great human. You've met him. I've met him. And he trains people, and he has a in-helmet communication. So he talks to you as you're going around the thing and tells you how to do it. I heard it's a great program. We've never had the time to do it, but it sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome, but it's of course during our season. The question of, is the March 19th ride still on? Yes, Springtide Ride is March 19th. That is a Sunday. It is meeting here at noon. Kickstands up about noon 20. We will have coffee and donuts and the whole thing. The route and the length of the route is still TBD because it'll depend on what the weather is that
What
day.
is the weather looking like? Have you looked? Is that too far out ahead?
I have not agonized myself over what the weather will be like on Sunday.
We're gonna do it.
But if it's cold, put on another layer.
Do you have a rule? If it's pouring rain, will you not do it? Will you reschedule?
It'll be a game day decision, but honestly, if it's pouring down rain the hour ahead, it would probably be delayed. If it's flurrying, we're going.
Yep.
Because that's a good challenge.
That'd be fun.
If there is an inch of ice on the ground, that's another thing.
Yeah. If it's snow on the ground or whatever, on the road.
Yeah. But if it's 20 degrees but the road's dry, put on another layer. You'll be fine. Then I'll just make it lower speed ride. How you get here is up to you, but I would just make it a lower speed ride so the wind chill doesn't make it worse.
Or just shorter. We'll go to
it'll be shorter.
coffee shop or something instead of like all with a wave.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone loved the Griso. Look, I was surprised at how much I loved that Griso.
Oh, I forgot to say this. So Coffee Guy Rides, when he was here, he was like, I love that Griso. That Griso had less than 500 miles. It was like showroom new, pristine. It was a 2016.
It had 400 miles on it when we got it.
Yeah, how amazing is that? So you have a motorcycle that's from 2016, and 400 is a good amount. And here's why. If it had 0 miles, that's a lot of time for things to kind of corrode and rust, and the battery, of course, is going to be dead and all this stuff. But I worry about the internals of the engine. It has 400, unless there were 400 and then nothing. 400 is enough that we know that bike ran and started, and it did, of course, run when we got here. I have a video on it, and it's on the channel, the Griso. But he was asking about that Coffee Guy Rides. He said when he was here, he really liked it. Oh man, I really like that Griso, and he does have kind of a bit of a sportier bike. But this new V100, I felt like was a combination of the Griso It's the kind of concept of the Griso and the V85. And the V85 is more in terms of fit and finish and the seating position and sort of the refinement and the dash. The dash is very similar to V85. And the riding position was a little more upright. The Griso is very aggressive. And the V100, I'm saying a lot of V names, I'm saying a lot of names. I'm trying to keep it all straight. The V100 is less aggressive. It's more relaxed, more upright body position, which is more like V85. Gosh, it's a lot of names. Who's the new coffee sponsor? I wish I knew. We're still figuring that out. So if you guys know, we had somebody who suggested, a guy who bought a bike. He has a very cool coffee shop. You should check them out. I follow them on Instagram. They're awesome. Final Coffee in Washington Courthouse. It's kind of far. They had suggested that we use them. I would like someone a little bit more local. I'm not totally opposed. I could be convinced to use them. We could be convinced to use them. But I would love if they were down the street and we could say, go down the street, when it's not Saturday morning.
I want to be able to send people there, but I also want them to send us people.
I agree.
In terms of people to man the coffee. Because I'm not trying to...
The lights went on. Turn the lights off low. I guess we hadn't been in there in an hour. I don't know how long it takes. I think you have to walk at least like 5 feet in that direction. We call this business friends, you and I, rather than like partnerships or some kind of businessy. Perfect. Excellent execution. And that might be the sign to wrap it up. Is that what you're thinking? How's your drank doing?
Oh, I've been done for a while.
Well, why didn't you say we were having a good time?
Good rapport conversation.
Well, anyway, now I got myself off track. Oh, the coffee friends, business friends, coffee sponsors. Yeah, it just seems like it's the most beneficial of a relationship. I love those guys. I love the Vinyl Coffee guys. Nothing against their business and everything. It's awesome. They're what we're doing for coffee and music. But I just think it would be the most beneficial relationship if they're down the street or they're closer or they're on the other side of Columbus or whatever. And yes, we can reciprocate in that way.
Yes, reciprocation.
We should ride. That's a good one, though, actually. We should ride to Vinyl Coffee Co. They would love it.
So speaking of, we will be having quite a few more like curated and led casual rides this season than
I think we've touched on this, but yeah, we're really turning up that knob on rides this year.
Like official Throttle rides.
Let's ride. Wait, that's somebody else's slogan.
That's somebody else's slogan.
Don't use that. Our slogan is, we're Dylan. DYLAN. That's me. It's not approved by Nicole, obviously.
We've talked about this.
It's a funny joke, but it's not the official.
It's funny to a specific person who I would love if saw this. It was like,
if you're from Columbus, you get the
joke.
You
get the joke. Yeah. So Ray said he hadn't taken the slide school class.
I know, I saw that, and I do remember Jess did that, and so is someone else that I know that did it. It might have been Farmer Troy, and I don't know. He's a YouTube guy too.
So Ken, I also love Stops, but they don't have the staff probably to send us.
I think we had gone down the road. I'm friends with a couple of people at Stoffs, and I thought we had. It's worth revisiting. We are working on this, but we had talked about using Stoffs, and there was some reason. Here's the problem. Here's really the problem when it comes to our Kickstands and Coffee event. It's Saturday morning. That is a busy time.
That's everyone's busy coffee time.
And so, and also, it's hard to get staff on a Saturday morning. And I mean, not the staff virus. I mean, people that work there. I don't know why. Anyway, this is so stupid. So if you look at you, it's easy. It's easy to get it. It's a moist environment. So anyway, what? She's a former wrestler, so she gets all of this. So what I was gonna say was, Saturday morning, you try to have your part-time people or whatever working on the weekend, early morning. It's tough. It's a tough thing to ask for a coffee shop, especially the small kind of thing that we're trying to be business friends with. The end.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the end.
Did she get staff? I don't think that's what she said.
No,
it's not. It's in no way a sexual thing. It's a gross thing that happens to wrestlers. Dirty, gross, unwashed wrestling mats. Do you feel attacked?
Yeah.
Moist also.
My God,
that's what
the
she said.
ringworm.
I don't see it.
I'm having battle flashbacks to.
Sorry, I was just teasing. You felt like you wanted to wrap it up. Was there more questions that we didn't quite?
Ray said on the 19th it'll be 44 degrees and cloudy. So that tells me that we need like 35 miles an hour or slower, and we
Today
could probably
was
do
50. 44 doesn't scare me. Sun would help.
Sun would help, but also I'll pick a route that's not like beautiful. Well, there's no foliage.
Ken will bring his heated grips. He'll be fine.
Oh, I'll ride the Himalayan, and I have heated grips.
You have heated grips too.
Yay!
Bring your heated grips.
This is a heated grips ride.
What is this one? It got cut off a little bit. Sometimes Japanese motorcycles have dedicated demo bikes.
Oh, I wanted to go back to Aaron's comment that they told him that his bike had 1 mile on it, and that they told him it wouldn't be considered new if somebody rode it. If they do the pre-delivery inspection, that's not someone test riding your bike like me going there to test ride the Rebel. That's someone making sure your wheels aren't going to fall off, which I believe someone mentioned. Roland said wheels could fall off if only 0.1 mile.
I guess.
How do you know that the? So speaking of,
it's my job. I mean, we went through a class. And there is literally, this is funny. You know this. I'm getting passionate about it. But there was a suggestion in one of my Moto Guzzi videos. Piaggio specifically. So Piaggio owns Moto Guzzi, and they own Piaggio scooters, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, and Aprilia, and they are very lawyer heavy in their dealings with us specifically. The contract,
not us as Throttle company,
anyone.
dealerships.
Because we are the customer facing thing,
receivers of litigious interactions.
We have not been sued by Piaggio. We're friends with them. But when they gave us the contract for the dealership, I think it was over 60 pages, and let me just they take that stuff seriously. This is my point. And when you do the pre-delivery inspection, it's called, sometimes we call it PDI or prep. My dad calls it prepping and deluxing.
Prepping and deluxing.
I don't even know what it means. But nobody knows. But
okay, was that your Seinfeld setup?
No. What's the deal with PDI? Anyway, so the last step on the sheet, it's literally like adjust the mirrors and check the tire pressure. It's all the things that you want done.
Set the clock.
Yeah, make sure the free play on the throttle cable is correct. Make sure the brakes work, the brake lever. There's literally a spec for all of those things. The throttle free play is 2 millimeters on a Royal Enfield Interceptor. How much should the end of the clutch lever move? I mean, all of this is specified by somebody, and it's these are giant companies. Piaggio, huge. Royal Enfield, maybe the biggest, and they're gigantic, and they don't take this stuff for chance. There are a million people setting these things up, so it's very, you follow the rules, and when you buy, especially when you buy a Royal or a Moto Guzzi, you sign a paper, and the paper is me. I or Zach or Brandon, somebody in the shop has checked every box that says, yes, I adjusted the mirrors, yes, I checked the tire pressure, and here's what it was. And then the last step is test ride. And
they indicate the number of miles you should be testing.
They say 5 to 10 is what Piaggio says, and so ours is like just over 5, maybe 6. And then also I want to build in room for what if there was something. What if this has happened. We found problems on test ride, and the funny thing is I have found a problem in mile 5 of the test ride. And I mean, the brakes felt a little weird, but if you think about it, you can go 3-4 miles without using the brakes. You can go 3-4 miles without using the rear brake, or what if I got up to 5th gear and suddenly 5th gear felt a little chunky?
But that's also what's so great about our test ride route when someone comes to test ride a bike for themselves, once it has been PDI'd and you're on our actual test ride bike, is that our test ride isn't just some short mile that you never test the brakes or you never get out of 2nd gear or any of that stuff. I mean, you get up to 50, 60 if you're riding with me. You take some curves.
You get up to 80
miles on the back stretch. You get up
Redacted.
You get up to some amount of mileage on the
You get upwards of 35.
You go above 35 miles an hour. You also, take your turns. You're a little bit of city. That's what's so great about our test ride route is that you have city, you have some intersections, some traffic.
We're geniuses.
Sometimes. And then you have
good idea.
Some curves, and then you have this country road in the back stretch that you get some miles of it.
36 miles an hour.
You never see a speed limit sign. Is there one?
Is there a speed limit? I mean, in general, what's a speed limit? What's a speed limit?
A sign? I don't know. I never done one.
I don't do it.
Don't do it.
Whatever the maximum.
But then, you get to test all those things. That's the same test ride route that our bikes get PDI'd on.
As a dealer for the last 3 years, and the person who works on motorcycles, and I'm in. This is my unique involvement is that I'm literally doing the dealer training. The person who owns the dealership, I do that training, which is different, and then I see when we buy them how much they cost. I decide how many to buy with other people, obviously, but then I also ride it, and I literally turn the screw to adjust the thing that they say. So I'm seeing the whole picture, and I having seen that whole picture, you don't want a motorcycle with less than 1 mile on it. Trust me, you don't want a motorcycle with less than 5 or something. Like you want it. You want a couple of miles. You want some miles. And the reason is, I'm serious. This is why we do our test ride, and that's why it has a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why I do the test ride route, not just like, drive to the end of the street and turn around. Is because some stuff happens, and you want to hear a squeak. Suddenly the brakes squeak.
Oh, I was going to say, I loved something that somebody said. Make sure it has all the sounds and none of the sounds. The other thing I like, especially with your example of going to the end of the street and turning back around, is there have definitely been things that I didn't notice until I took a right turn or leaned right or pulled left. If you only go like on a track and only go one direction, and then you suddenly have to turn right, you've never felt the pull of maybe the clutch cable gets stuck or the throttle cable gets stuck the other way.
Should be more like if you were buying a motorcycle, I guess it'd probably be fine because like you're not going anywhere. Like if you bought a motorcycle, I would say,
I'm not going anywhere.
You're gonna take it everywhere.
That's the whole point of buying
what I mean is, if you had a problem, you're not going to be like, well, I'm 100 miles away right now. But what I'm saying is,
how many times have I done that now?
You have had problems. Yes. But my point here is that we check all that stuff, and the ultimate test is to ride it, because I'm feeling the clutch, I'm feeling the brakes, I'm feeling all that stuff, and I can feel the tire pressure. If it's a brand new motorcycle I've never ridden before, like the V100, it has a tire pressure monitoring system, so I know exactly what it was. But if the tire pressure was a little low, I might not know that. If I run an Interceptor in the tire, we should test that. Actually, let's do that.
I feel like on the Himalayan, I 100% can tell when the tire pressure's a tiny bit
Here's
low.
What we should do. We should set up. This is a good idea. Like your good idea earlier. We can all have them, but everyone gets a good idea. We'll set up 3 Interceptors because it's easy. We can do it, and one will be perfect tire pressure, which I believe is 34 in the front, 37 in the rear, on an Interceptor or a GT, and
but not on your Interceptor.
Mine's wacky. It's got wacky tires. But then take the same bike and put like 5 psi low and 10 psi and ride all 3, and then at the end I'll say, okay, the blue
and
one
tell you
has
which,
this,
and you have to figure out which one's which.
See if we're right or wrong, or like we'll have a couple people do it.
So speaking of, Aaron said not to put you on the spot, but how's the Sporty? So to catch everyone else up, Aaron is borrowing my Sportster to ride down to Forgotten Angels the weekend of the 19th. So he is going to be abandoning us to go to someone else's thing.
What day is it again? April?
It's the weekend of March 19th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get going. I was like, he doesn't need it for a while. So the most recent thing that I did was install a new throttle cable, because the old throttle cable, the guy had done such poor maintenance on this. Whenever you have these threads that are like could be exposed to water, I always put something on it, oil, grease, some anti-corrosion kind of thing. And man, these were literally, they were the adjusters for the throttle cable, and they were so rusted that one of them disintegrated, me turning it, and just destroyed. And so it was at the most
This is going
slack.
to sound bad for me, but I'm going to go ahead and just explain. I can put up with a lot of inconvenience and uncomfortableness when it comes to a lot of things. This throttle cable was one of them. It was not worth it to me to not be able to ride it for any amount of time should something go wrong in changing the throttle cable.
But now that it's become your second or third bike, we have the time to change it. So then when you brought up the concept of Aaron borrowing it,
I don't want someone else to put up with something that I put up with.
Yeah. So we checked the tire pressure and started it and charged it. The battery cable was loose, so I figured that out, that it had like a little battery
that was
connection.
Probably from me putting on the charging dongle.
Oh, that could have been, I guess. But anyway, it's fixed now, and I have the carburetor thing taken off because, man,
he's leaving Wednesday the 15th in the morning.
It'll be ready. I'll take care of it. But so I put the new throttle cable on. I guess I haven't tested it, but it feels really good now. And it's brand new cable. Only the one of them is the new one. I should have ordered both of them actually when I realized that other one was bad too. But anyway, it'll be good enough for you to ride. The other one, really, it's the one throttle cable that you need to adjust is brand new, and then the other one's fine. It's not going to have a problem, but you can't adjust it. It's rusted right where it is. And you'll be fine.
I have ridden this bike thousands of miles.
This way.
It will be fine.
And everything else is fine, so I'm going to give it the once over, and we'll check the tire pressure. Always check your tire pressure. That's something that I'm thinking about incorporating into my slogan, so you guys can just start using it for me. But check your tire pressure, because sometimes people come in with like 12 PSI, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's just so unsafe.
One quick question. Eric's asking, what's the worst thing you found on a test ride?
Oh, you mean like a PDI thing?
An engine that wouldn't shift entirely? The GT?
Yeah, but you mean...
like discovered on the test ride?
It's not the engine, it's the transmission. So... I don't. This is funny because this is getting into like should we say these kind of things, and I want to be transparent, and that's our kind of thing, is being approachable or whatever. But
I think it actually, in this case, I think where you're going with this sounds better because it was fixed before someone else got it.
This is pretty cool. I probably am not allowed to say any of this, so clip it now. But we had a GT. And it wasn't me. I did not discover this, actually. But this was Zach. So Zach gets back and he says something is bad about the shifting of that GT. But he did do the whole test ride. I said, okay, let me look. So I take it out, and I didn't even get out of the parking lot. And it was like, it's hard to get into first. It was hard to get into neutral. It was hard to shift. And I don't know what it was. It was right on the border of like, first of all, I do feel like it would have gotten better with 1,000 miles or something. Like, it'll be fine eventually. So what happens there is, it's our bike. I own it because it's not sold yet, and I start the process with Royal Enfield. Now this one was unique because they had me test a couple of things, and they said, based on what you're saying, and they know I know my stuff now. I'm friends with all those guys now, and they say, okay, if you say it, it's not just like, oh, did you check the throttle cable or whatever? It's not that. So they know that.
Did you unplug it and plug it back in?
Yeah, they don't. They escalate me. So this one's really cool. Because Royal Enfield, obviously, based in India, the time zones are completely backwards. They're not helpful for us. And they were like, we're going to do a live stream. So with this exact setup that we have here, and I was like, you're going to love my setup because we know how to do live streams. So we live streamed, and I came in at 8 a.m., and they stayed. These guys, and there was like 20 Indian dudes, techs, engineers. And some higher level people. This is incredible that they did this. Some idiot in America has some problem, and they scheduled a meeting with 20 of their dudes after hours. So 8 o'clock at night, these guys stayed. One guy was in the car driving. They're all in a Google Hangout chat thing, and I had video, but they didn't. And thank God. Did you know this? If you're ever in a Google Hangout thing, they have auto translate real time. It was incredible because these guys have Indian accents. Some of them have bad connections. I'm in the shop, so I'm like 10 feet away from the computer, and I'm like squinting to read the things.
And our internet in the shop is not great.
It was okay. But the translating the real-time captions was incredible. Saved my life. Anyway, they were having me test it. Try this. Put it up on a center stand, which it doesn't have, and they forgot, which is kind of funny. And our guy on the other side was
because
like, because
your plan was to test the rear wheel.
Yeah, so we were seeing if the clutch was dragging. Turns out the clutch was dragging. This is a long answer to this question of what's the worst thing I found. But it's cool because Royal Enfield really went above and beyond. And their theory was it was a supplier issue. So they thought that clutch, they sent me a new clutch next day, threw it in there, and it fixed it. And we got to that assessment together. The funny thing is, I own the bike, but it is under warranty. Someone else doesn't own it yet. But we're fixing it together, so we have a little bit of time.
But they also want to be able to, if it's an issue that they have not run across yet, that they can discover a real life example. And this is why I think that it's not bad to say that this happened, is that it's an issue that they want to know about. They want to have the opportunity to get their hands on the part that is having the issue, because if it is a supplier issue, they don't want it to continue to be an issue that no one brought up.
So what they do now, I mean, you should see it. A clutch basket has a QR code on it. I mean, this is a cast aluminum piece. It has a QR code on it, and it tells you all the information. It tells them. It doesn't tell me shit. It tells me a bunch of numbers. But if you scan that, it will tell them in the factory all the parts are like that. Every piece. You take the camshaft out, it has a QR code on it. That's for their assembly at Royal Enfield. And this is a state of the art assembly procedure.
So if you're ever concerned or think the things that people have walked into our shop and said that are derogatory towards the...
Not now. The current Royal Enfield is not what you think it is.
The 2020 and later models, I would say, have not.
Really, since the Himalayan came out, so 2016 in India.
I mean, the Himalayan has gone through a few iterations itself. I mean, squarely the 2020 Twins, Himalayan, and now the the Meteor in the Classic.
Yeah.
Are all ground up redesigns, except for the Himalayan from the earlier Himalayan version.
Yeah.
But
that's when we started being a dealer. But ever since then, there's top of the line, state of the art. All the things have QR codes. You can actually, it's kind of funny little Easter eggs. But if you point out all these things, they're all hidden pretty much. But you can find little QR codes and everything, and they can find out the batch number, the supplier, all that stuff. So that's what they would do in this case. Is they say this clutch. And I compared it. I measured for them and stuff, and showed them all the stuff on video. But they go back to that supplier if it's enough of a problem.
I guess I don't know. You might know this. The failure rate or the quality control percentage, but after 2 million motorcycles,
they sell a lot of motorcycles worldwide.
And I mean, we've sold hundreds.
I've never had that problem. We discovered that on PDI. I've never had a customer discover that problem. And that's so much better for me. I hope you get that as a customer service thing. I would much rather go through this process with Royal Enfield and all that stuff. That took a week or two to schedule this and have a new part sent out and put it in there.
But that's also why when we get a new motorcycle that's for you specifically, that you cannot just pick it up same day.
You don't want to. That's
you don't
what I'm
want
saying.
to.
You don't want a bike with no miles. You don't want a bike that's gone through this process and has our stamp of approval. Because what if I found something like this? What if I said, I don't know, it's not quite ready, but you take it home and you're like, it doesn't shift. All these Royal Enfields are pieces of shit. None of them shift, and you just happen to get the 1 out of a million that has some weird.
Literally, the 1 out of a million
maybe
that doesn't do it.
We haven't had that problem. We haven't had anything since then. It's funny because people do say that a lot. Oh, people are seeing these or whatever, but like. We sell this. I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but we sell a lot of motorcycles. We sell a lot of Royal Enfields. I would love it if you could find someone that sells more Royal Enfields than us. I would love to know them, and we can compare notes.
We can be business friends.
We never have problems with these bikes. It's rare. We have, now that we've been in business for 3 years, almost 3 years, we have done some warranty things, but overall, this is my main bike. I don't like sit there riding it thinking, well, I just can't wait till the warranty happens and I get a new engine or something like that. It's not even on my radar. All these bikes, I know they're inexpensive and people want to find some problem with them, but it's so rare. It's so rare for any of these bikes to have a warrantyable thing go wrong with them. Once the customers have it. But you want me to check it first. That's the end result of what I'm trying to say.
Yes, Thunder Bear. So even though he's a troll, I create excellent topics of discussion. Pat self on back. And with that,
you're wrapping it up.
I'm wrapping it up.
We needed to wrap it up
because I have finished and become drivable.
Oh, we're back around.
Back around
yeah.
on this roller coaster.
This is something people didn't see last time, but we only drank one thing last time, 1 unit of alcohol. And last time you were like, we were just sitting here and you're just kind of like, I'm like, are you ready to go? You're like, I kind of want to wait.
Well, my problem lately
My
problem lately has been the weather going back and forth, and I can literally feel
it gets the pressure.
My eyelid getting heavy.
I could see it too.
Yeah. Like throughout the live stream, like I'm like, I'm glad that you guys aren't seeing this side of my face because I can feel it getting bad. So I'd like to get home before I have to.
And our dog Riley's sleeping in the dark.
Yeah,
That's so funny. We didn't even mention her. So we were trying to figure out. Riley came in today.
I'm gonna go get her and just bring her.
Riley came in
back
today.
here.
Yeah, please do, and that'll be our perfect way to wrap it up. We were trying to figure out a way to do this, where Riley could be like in the video and everything, and. She's so cute, and she was here all day, and she was doing such a great job. She's such a good dog. She's older. She's almost 12, and or she just turned 12, and she's going to be great. She was just so well behaved over there and sitting and sleeping that, hey, come this way. And I'm just yelling. She just tried to run out the door. She's like, I'm good to go. But she was sleeping so well. Here she is. That we didn't disturb her. So we're like, we'll just do it without her. But I literally forgot she was over there. And when the light turned off, I was like, oh, right. So anyway, here's Riley, the sometimes shop dog. I can't call her the shop dog because Brandon's dog is here more often, more like once a week at least. But that's Riley. She's cute. She's our star of our show. So, with that, I would say all the things I say at the end, which is thank you so much. Thanks for everybody for starting a whole discussion without us. Sorry if you consider that to be late, but I thought we were I thought we did okay. Fashionably late, we'll say. And then, what's that? Somebody else said that? I do really, really appreciate. I can't believe people watch this. So thank you for sticking around and doing the Quittin time with us. And Nicole, I can only see your face in the video that you were laughing so much. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you appreciate our honesty. That's our kind of thing. Trying to be transparent. That's the whole idea behind this thing. Ask a question. Hopefully I'll be able to answer it and let you know what it's really like to do this, own a dealership, talk about these things all day long. I never get tired of it. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.